The planet Zephora Prime glimmered under twin suns, its skies painted in shades of gold and violet. Towering crystal spires rose from lush forests, reflecting the light in 1,000 dazzling colors. In the heart of the planet lay the royal palace, an enormous structure carved from living crystal, where Queen Alara, ruler of the Zyphorians, governed with intelligence, courage, and grace. She was proud and strong, known throughout the galaxy for her wisdom, yet she also carried a careful heart, one that guarded her from making mistakes, especially in matters of trust. Alara's life had always been guided by duty. She had spent years learning diplomacy, military strategy, and the history of her people. She had seen wars fought over pride and misunderstanding, and she had learned to respect strength, courage, and loyalty. But there was one thing she had never expected: falling in love with someone from a distant planet, someone she had been taught to consider weak and unremarkable. That person was Aaron, a human ambassador sent from Earth. He was small in stature compared to the Zyphorians, with a simple frame, dark hair, and kind brown eyes that seemed to see everything without judgment. Humans, the Zyphorians believed, were clever but physically frail, a species too soft to survive in the vast and dangerous galaxy. Yet Aaron carried himself with a quiet confidence that the aliens could not fully understand. Their marriage had surprised everyone. The Council of Ministers had whispered behind closed doors. "A human? Queen Alara has chosen a human for marriage? How can this be wise?" they muttered. Even her closest advisors doubted it. Humans had no armor strong enough to survive Zephora Prime's harsher climates, no advanced weapons that could rival Zyphorian technology, and certainly no combat skills comparable to their warriors, yet Alara had felt a spark. From the moment she met Aaron, she sensed something unusual about him. He listened carefully, observed quietly, and never boasted of his intelligence. Unlike many aliens who flaunted power, Aaron's strength was hidden, subtle, and calm. He respected her as a leader and as a person, and for the first time in her life, Alara felt truly understood. The wedding had been a spectacle. Zyphorians dressed in flowing robes of shimmering crystal, singing songs that echoed through the palace halls. Aaron had worn simple formal attire, unlike the elaborate armor and ceremonial gowns of the alien nobility. He had seemed almost out of place, yet the sincerity in his eyes had silenced the doubters. After the ceremony, Aaron and Alara moved into the palace's private wing. The wing was a labyrinth of glass corridors, floating gardens, and chambers filled with alien art and technology. Aaron marveled at everything but did not pretend to understand it all. He asked questions, learned quickly, and laughed easily when he made mistakes. His humility and curiosity fascinated Alara, who often spent hours watching him explore her world with wonder. The first weeks were quiet, but filled with small discoveries. Aaron learned how to use the alien gravity lifts, how to communicate with the palace's artificial intelligence, and how to navigate the complex social rules of the Zyphorian court. He also began learning the language of the Zyphorians, though he often spoke in simple phrases. His accent soft but charming. Alara found herself smiling more than she had in years. She had spent her life among ambitious leaders and scheming nobles, yet Aaron brought a sense of calm and joy she had never known. She would sometimes watch him in the palace gardens, bending to observe the tiniest flowers or talking softly to the holographic animals she kept for study. In those moments, she saw a depth of empathy and intelligence that no physical strength could match. Still, doubts lingered among the citizens and court. Some of the palace guards whispered that the human could not protect the queen if danger came. Others mocked the match, claiming that no human could ever understand Zephorian leadership. Aaron noticed the whispers but never responded with anger or pride. Instead, he simply continued learning and observing, quietly proving that he was not easily shaken. One afternoon, as the twin suns cast long shadows across the crystal halls, Aaron joined Alara in the royal training grounds. She was practicing combat forms, moving gracefully with a staff that shimmered with energy. Humans were generally not taught such skills, but Aaron watched carefully, absorbing every movement. He asked questions, imitated motions, and sometimes stumbled, but he never gave up. Alara found herself impressed by his determination. "You are different from other humans," she said, lowering her staff after a long session. Most would be overwhelmed by this environment. Most would quit after a few attempts. "But you keep trying," Aaron smiled. "I like to learn, and I want to understand your world, Alara. I want to be someone you can trust." Ilara's heart softened. She realized that strength was not only measured by muscle or weaponry. There was a quiet, steady power in persistence and understanding, and in courage to face the unknown. She began to see why she had chosen him, despite all the doubts around them. Evenings were spent in conversation. Aaron would share stories of Earth, of oceans and forests, of cities and people. Ilara would tell him about Zephora Prime's history, about battles fought for freedom and the delicate balance required to maintain peace. They laughed at cultural differences, marveled at similarities, and began to truly understand each other. Yet, beneath the peace, Aaron remained mysterious. There were times when he would leave the palace unnoticed, returning with a quiet intensity in his eyes. Ilara could not see what he did, but she sensed that he was more than a simple diplomat. One night, as she walked through the floating gardens, she glimpsed him moving in a hidden chamber with astonishing speed and precision. He leaped, twisted, and landed without a sound, performing maneuvers that even Zyphorian warriors would struggle to match. Ilara's heart raced. She approached quietly, not wanting to startle him. "Aaron," she whispered, "what are you doing here?" He paused, looking at her with calm eyes. "Just training," he said simply. "There are things I must prepare for, things you may not yet understand." Ilara studied him carefully, sensing the depth of his hidden strength. She realized that she had married not just a human, but someone extraordinary, someone whose true abilities were carefully concealed beneath an unassuming appearance. Days passed, and life in the palace continued. Aaron adapted quickly to Zephorian customs, gaining respect from some who had doubted him. Others still whispered, but their doubts were slowly being replaced by curiosity. Even the palace guards, who had been skeptical at first, began to notice that Aaron carried himself with a confidence and calmness that commanded attention. Ilara herself felt a mixture of pride and wonder. She had chosen him without knowing his full strength, yet she sensed that he would prove himself in ways no one could anticipate. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day, a mix of trust, respect, and a quiet, growing affection. The people of Zephora Prime began to notice small changes as well. There was a new lightness in Ilara's demeanor, a confidence that was strengthened rather than diminished by the presence of her human husband. Diplomats from other worlds commented on the unusual harmony between the queen and the human, and some began to rethink their assumptions about humans. Aaron never sought glory. He did not flaunt his hidden talents. Instead, he focused on learning, observing, and quietly supporting Ilara. Yet the palace itself seemed to hum with a subtle energy whenever he moved through its halls. It was as if his very presence reminded everyone that appearances could be deceiving. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Aaron and Ilara stood on a balcony overlooking the crystal forests. The sky was painted with brilliant streaks of orange and purple, and the distant mountains glowed with reflected light. "Do you ever wonder," Aaron asked softly, "what the future holds for us?" Ilara looked at him, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sky. "I do," she replied. "But I know one thing. We will face it together. And whatever comes, I trust that we will overcome it." Aaron nodded, a small smile on his face. "Together," he agreed. And so the unlikely couple began their life in the palace side by side. Queen Ilara, proud and wise, and Aaron, the human who appeared ordinary but whose true strength was yet to be revealed. The galaxy may have doubted him, but soon events would show that appearances could be deceiving, and that true courage often lies in the most unexpected places. For now, the palace of Zephora Prime was filled with quiet wonder, gentle laughter, and the beginning of a partnership that would change the course of history. In the weeks to come, the universe would discover the hidden strength of a human, and the galaxy would never be the same again. Life in the palace of Zephora Prime settled into a rhythm. Queen Ilara and Aaron shared quiet mornings in the floating gardens, studied alien texts in the crystal libraries, and walked through halls of glowing art and machinery. Yet beneath the calm, subtle tensions began to stir. Rumors whispered through the palace corridors. The Vorak Dominion, a warlike alien species, had been spotted near Zyphora Prime's borders. Known for their brutal conquests, the Vorak were feared across the galaxy. They consumed planets, enslaved populations, and left destruction in their wake. The Council of Ministers was restless. Some suggested strengthening the fleet, others urged negotiations. But the truth was simple. The Vorak were unpredictable, and Zyphera Prime could not afford to underestimate them. Aaron, ever observant, noticed the growing unease before anyone else did. While others worried aloud, he quietly studied maps of the Vorak fleets, noting inconsistencies in the reports. He listened carefully to the guards' observations, learning which sentries were reliable and which were nervous or easily influenced. Though he seemed calm and ordinary, his mind worked faster than anyone realized. One morning during a council meeting, Ilara discussed the Vorak threat. "We must prepare," she said, her voice steady but carrying the weight of command. "Our scouts report unusual activity near our system. We do not know their intentions, but we cannot wait for them to strike." The ministers debated loudly, some pointing fingers, others making extravagant suggestions. Aaron sat quietly listening. When a lull came, he spoke. "Perhaps we are looking at this the wrong way," he said, his voice soft but firm. "The Vorak may expect us to act like the last few planets they attacked, but we are different. Our strength is not only in our fleet but in our ability to adapt. Small, precise actions can disrupt their plans more than brute force." Some ministers frowned. "A human gives advice about strategy?" One scoffed. "You have not fought in wars like we have." Aaron's eyes met Ilara's. She nodded slightly, giving him silent encouragement. "Experience is not always measured in battles," Aaron continued. "Observation, creativity, and quick thinking can be just as powerful." Ilara was quietly proud. Her choice in husband was already proving wise. While others doubted, she saw the keen intelligence and insight that Aaron brought to every situation. That night, Aaron wandered the palace gardens alone. The twin suns had set, leaving the skies aglow with stars. He moved with quiet precision, listening to the whispers of the plants, the hum of the energy fields, and the distant sounds of the palace guards. He had noticed something unusual during the council. A subtle interference in the communication networks, small enough for most to miss but potentially serious. He followed the trail to a hidden corridor beneath the palace. There he found a minor security breach, an unregistered device that could transmit information outside the palace walls. Aaron quickly disabled it, careful not to leave a trace. He knew that this was only the beginning. There were spies and traitors, and the Vorak threat might bring out those who wished to undermine Ilara's rule. The next day, Ilara noticed that Aaron had been unusually quiet. "You seem distracted," she said as they walked through the palace gardens. "Is something troubling you?" Aaron smiled faintly. "Just thinking," he replied. "There are small things that need attention. Nothing you cannot handle, but sometimes I notice details others overlook." Ilara's curiosity grew. She had always trusted him, but now she sensed there was more beneath the surface. "Aaron," she said softly, "you are not an ordinary human, are you?" He shook his head, smiling without giving details. "I am simply who I am, but I promise you, when the time comes, you will see my true strength." Meanwhile, tension in the palace escalated. Minor skirmishes on nearby planets were reported, and the Vorak's movement suggested they were testing defenses. The Zephyrian Council began issuing orders to mobilize troops, but confusion and fear slowed their preparations. Aaron quietly assisted Ilara, helping her prioritize tasks and detect subtle patterns in intelligence reports. The ministers continued to doubt him, but Ilara's trust never wavered. One evening, Aaron visited the palace's training grounds alone. He moved in ways that seemed almost impossible. He leaped across platforms, dodged projectiles with incredible speed, and manipulated alien energy fields with precise control. Each motion was deliberate, a combination of skill, strategy, and sheer human ingenuity. Ilara, unaware of his presence, entered quietly. She froze as she watched him move. His speed and precision were unlike anything she had ever seen. He seemed to anticipate obstacles before they appeared, adapting instantly to changes in the environment. For a moment, she felt a mix of awe and fear. "Aaron," she called softly. He stopped and turned, his expression calm. "I was hoping you would not see this yet," he said almost apologetically. Ilara approached, her eyes wide. "You are stronger than anyone imagined," she said. "You move like a warrior and think like a strategist. Why hide this?" Aaron's gaze softened. "Because strength without purpose can cause fear. I want you to know me as a person first, not just as a fighter. But soon you will need to see everything I can do." Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert from the palace sensors. A small Vorak scouting vessel had entered Zephora Prime's outer atmosphere. The fleet was testing the planet's defenses, and any misstep could reveal vulnerabilities. Aaron and Alara rushed to the command room. The sensors displayed a sleek, menacing ship clearly studying the planet. Zyphorian soldiers prepared defensive maneuvers, but confusion and hesitation slowed their response. Aaron stepped forward. "Do not engage blindly," he said. "Observe their patterns. They expect us to panic. If we stay calm and act with precision, we can force them to retreat." Alara nodded, trusting his judgment. She issued orders based on his advice, and the soldiers followed with careful precision. Within moments, the Vorak scout ship encountered unexpected resistance. Its sensors disrupted and its escape route blocked by subtle maneuvers Aaron had suggested. It withdrew, leaving Zephora Prime unharmed. The council members were stunned. "A human guided our defenses?" one whispered. "And succeeded?" Aaron simply smiled. "Sometimes the simplest strategies are the strongest," he said. That night, Alara reflected on the day's events. She had always known Aaron was extraordinary, but now it was undeniable. Not only did he possess physical skill, but his mind was sharp, able to anticipate actions and adapt faster than any alien strategist. She felt a deep respect and growing affection for him, realizing that her choice in marriage was more than wise. It was revolutionary. Aaron, meanwhile, knew that this was only the beginning. The Vorak would return stronger and more determined, and when they did, he would need to reveal even more of his abilities. But for now, he was content to prepare quietly, observing the palace, learning the strengths and weaknesses of its people, and ensuring that Alara would always have a partner she could trust. In the following weeks, Aaron continued his quiet surveillance. He studied the palace's hidden passages, trained in secret, and learned the alien combat systems with astonishing speed. The guards began noticing small changes: equipment subtly repaired, systems optimized, and security breaches quietly resolved. Rumors began to circulate that the human ambassador was no ordinary man, though most dismissed it as exaggeration. Alara watched Aaron with a mix of pride and curiosity. She knew that his true abilities were far beyond what anyone else could imagine, yet she also appreciated the humility with which he carried them. He did not boast, did not flaunt power, and always placed the well-being of Zephora Prime above his own recognition. One evening, as they walked together along a crystal bridge overlooking the glowing forests, Alara spoke softly. "You amaze me every day, Aaron. I see glimpses of your strength, yet I feel there is much more. Are you truly human?" Aaron smiled faintly, taking her hand. "I am human," he said. "But humans are capable of more than most believe. You will see when the time comes that even the smallest of us can make the greatest difference." Alara squeezed his hand, her heart filled with a mixture of wonder and certainty. She had chosen wisely, and she knew that together they would face whatever challenges the galaxy could throw at them. For now, the palace rested in quiet vigilance. The Vorak threat lingered on the horizon, and Aaron's hidden strength remained a mystery to all but Alara. Yet the stage was set. The calm before the storm was ending, and soon, both human ingenuity and Zyphorian courage would be tested like never before. And in that calm, Aaron quietly prepared, knowing that his moment to reveal the true extent of his abilities was approaching, and that when it came, the galaxy would never doubt humans again. The twin suns of Zephora Prime rose slowly, casting long shadows across the crystal spires and floating gardens. A sense of quiet unease filled the palace. Scouts had reported unusual movement along the borders, and whispers of the Vorak dominion had grown louder. The Vorak were no ordinary threat. They were ruthless, fast, and strategic. They had conquered countless planets, leaving destruction in their wake. Zephora Prime had survived by intelligence and careful planning, but now the ultimate test had arrived. Queen Alara stood on the palace balcony, overlooking the sprawling city below. Soldiers marched in precise formations, preparing for drills and defense strategies. Despite her calm exterior, she felt tension tighten her chest. This was the moment she had feared, the moment when her people and her planet would be tested. Aaron stood beside her, his expression unreadable but steady. Unlike most humans, he seemed calm in the face of danger. He had observed, trained, and prepared for this moment, though Alara did not yet know the full extent of his abilities. "Do you think we are ready?" Elara asked softly. Aaron's gaze swept over the city and the distant horizon. "We are as ready as we can be," he said. "But readiness is more than weapons. It is strategy, observation, and knowing when to act. Do not underestimate the Vorak. They are clever and relentless." Elara nodded, trusting him more than ever. She had already seen glimpses of his hidden strength, but the coming battle would reveal the full truth. The alarm sounded suddenly, echoing across the palace halls. A fleet of Vorak ships had entered Zephora Prime's atmosphere. Sleek, black, and menacing, they blotted out the morning sun as they approached. Citizens scattered while soldiers rushed to stations. The Vorak were here, and their intent was clear: domination. Elara commanded the palace defense, her voice strong and unwavering. "Deploy the fleet. Protect the city and civilians at all costs. Follow the orders and do not falter." Aaron stepped forward. "Wait," he said, holding up a hand. "Do not respond with force blindly. Let me guide the first maneuvers. We can minimize damage and outsmart them." The council hesitated. Many had doubted Aaron's insight before, but the Vorak fleet advanced rapidly. Elara's nod gave him authority. "Do as you see fit," she said. Aaron quickly assessed the situation. Using both intuition and observation, he noted patterns in the Vorak fleet's formation. They were fast but predictable in their aggression. Small squads of ships moved in repeating sequences, leaving weak points in their approach. Aaron issued precise instructions to Zyphorian pilots, directing them to exploit these gaps. At first, the soldiers were skeptical. They had always relied on brute force, their advanced technology, and sheer numbers. But Aaron's calm confidence and sharp instructions gradually gained their trust. One by one, the Vorak ships found themselves outmaneuvered by unexpected tactics. Small squads attacked from unusual angles. Distractions were set up to split the enemy's attention, and traps were triggered that damaged Vorak engines. Elara watched in astonishment as the Vorak fleet faltered. Her human husband, who many had considered weak, was turning the battle in their favor. Yet Aaron's most extraordinary abilities remained hidden. For now. The first wave of Vorak attackers tried to breach the outer city defenses, but Aaron had already prepared contingency strategies. Small groups of Zyphorian soldiers under his direction used rapid, precise strikes to intercept them. The Vorak were powerful, but they had not anticipated these clever tactics. Aaron moved swiftly through the command room, analyzing sensor data, adjusting strategies, and communicating orders. His mind worked faster than any AI in the palace. Every decision was deliberate, every command calculated. Even minor mistakes by the Vorak were exploited immediately, turning potential danger into advantage. As the battle continued, a Vorak commander personally led an attack against the palace. His massive ship advanced with brutal force, attempting to break through the central defenses. The alarm bells rang louder than ever. Zyphorian soldiers readied their weapons, but the Vorak ship's shields seemed nearly impenetrable. Aaron's eyes narrowed. He had anticipated this possibility. Using a combination of his human intuition and knowledge of alien systems, he directed smaller strike teams to attack the ship's weak points. With careful coordination, they disabled key systems, forcing the Vorak vessel to retreat. Elara felt a surge of pride. She realized fully now that Aaron was no ordinary human. His strategy, courage, and precision were unmatched. He was not simply guiding soldiers. He was orchestrating a symphony of action, turning chaos into order. The Vorak were not easily defeated. Another wave arrived, larger and more aggressive than the first. They attempted to encircle the city, aiming to crush the fleet from multiple directions. Panic began to ripple among the soldiers, but Aaron remained calm. He moved to the training grounds where he demonstrated advanced combat techniques to small groups of elite Zyphorian soldiers. His speed, agility, and precision were astonishing. He dodged incoming attacks with ease, disarmed opponents in seconds, and led coordinated counterattacks that surprised the Vorak. The soldiers who witnessed his actions began to believe in him fully. A human thought to be weak was now their greatest advantage. Elara stayed close, observing every move. She could see the admiration and renewed courage in her soldiers' eyes. Aaron was changing everything, not just the battle, but the way Zyphorians saw humans. Meanwhile, Aaron noticed small details others had missed: hidden Vorak ships attempting stealth approaches, weak points in their communication signals, and environmental factors like wind currents and magnetic fields that could be used to their advantage. He adapted their defenses in real time, turning every challenge into an opportunity. Hours passed. The sky above Zephora Prime was filled with the flash of energy weapons, explosions, and the hum of advanced engines. Yet under Aaron's guidance, the city held strong. The Vorak fleet began to falter. Their formations broke, their attacks grew less coordinated, and morale dropped as Zyphorian counterattacks succeeded beyond expectation. The turning point came when Aaron personally led a daring mission. Using a small unarmed shuttle, he infiltrated the Vorak fleet's command vessel. His movements were precise, his strategy flawless. Within moments, he disabled critical systems, sowing confusion and forcing the Vorak fleet to retreat. Soldiers and citizens alike watched in awe. A human had single-handedly outsmarted a far more powerful enemy. Alara felt a mixture of amazement and relief. She rushed to Aaron's side as he returned, bruised but smiling. You did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. Aaron shrugged lightly. "We did it together. Your soldiers followed my guidance and your people defended their home bravely. I only helped coordinate what was already possible." Alara shook her head. "No, you were the difference. Without your insight and skill, we might not have survived. You are stronger than any warrior I have known." Aaron's smile was calm. "Strength comes in many forms. Today we used strategy, courage, and quick thinking. Tomorrow we may face something different, but we are ready together." The Vorak fleet retreated into the darkness of space, leaving Zephora Prime battered but victorious. Fires burned in some areas and damage to the city was visible, but the people were alive and their spirits were renewed. The citizens cheered, their voices echoing across the crystal halls, praising both their queen and the human who had turned the tide. In the aftermath, the palace council convened. Ministers who had once doubted Aaron now watched him with respect, some even awe. The stories of his bravery and strategy spread quickly. Zyphorians began to rethink their assumptions about humans, realizing that appearances could be deceiving. Alara took Aaron's hand, her eyes filled with pride. "You have proven something today, not just to me but to everyone. Humans are capable of incredible strength, and so is our partnership. I am proud to call you my husband." Aaron squeezed her hand gently. "And I am proud to fight alongside you. This is only the beginning. We must remain vigilant. The Vorak may return, stronger and more determined." Even as the city celebrated, Aaron returned to the hidden chambers of the palace. He knew that threats could come from anywhere, not just the Vorak. Spies, saboteurs, and unforeseen dangers still lurked. He quietly trained, prepared, and observed, ensuring that he and Alara would always be ready for the challenges ahead. The battle had revealed his abilities to the Zephorians, but much of his true strength remained hidden. He had shown enough to inspire confidence and awe, but when the next wave of danger arrived, he would need to reveal the full extent of his skills, and the galaxy would see that humans were not to be underestimated. For now, Zephora Prime breathed a collective sigh of relief. The Vorak threat had been repelled, and the bond between Queen Alara and her extraordinary human husband had grown stronger than ever. They had faced the first storm together, and their partnership had proven unbreakable. And as the twin suns set again, casting violet and gold across the crystal spires, Aaron and Alara stood side by side, knowing that their journey was only beginning, and that the future would demand courage, intelligence, and the hidden strength that lay within a human heart. The aftermath of the Vorak attack left Zephora Prime both relieved and wary. The citizens celebrated their survival, but the palace remained tense. Queen Alara knew that this victory was only temporary. The Vorak would return, stronger and more cunning than before. She and Aaron had to prepare not only the planet's defenses but also the hearts and minds of her people. Aaron moved with quiet determination. He had already revealed glimpses of his abilities during the first attack, but now it was time to expand his influence. He began working closely with the palace's military instructors, teaching a combination of tactics that were unfamiliar to the Zyphorians. Unlike the alien strategies that focused solely on overwhelming force, Aaron introduced methods based on adaptability, creativity, and teamwork. He encouraged small squads to think independently, to anticipate enemy movements, and to exploit weaknesses in ways the Vorak would never expect. At first, the soldiers were skeptical. "These are humans' methods," one grumbled. "We are not Earthlings. How can this help?" Aaron smiled. Strength is not only in power or weapons, he explained. It is in thinking, reacting, and using every advantage available. You already have great skill. I am only showing you a new way to apply it. Ilara watched him teach with fascination. She had always known that humans were clever. But Aaron's strategies were different from anything she had seen. He used the environment, teamwork, and rapid adaptation to outmaneuver far stronger forces. Slowly, the soldiers began to understand and their confidence grew. Aaron did not stop there. He worked on the fleet as well, showing pilots how to perform small but precise maneuvers that could confuse enemy formations. He demonstrated techniques that allowed weaker ships to strike effectively against larger, more powerful vessels. Even the most experienced Xiphorian pilots were impressed. Humans are underestimated, Aaron told Ilara one evening as they walked along the palace balcony. We have developed ways to survive by thinking creatively. That is our true strength, Ilara nodded. And today your human strategies are teaching my people something new. You are changing not only the battle plans but also the hearts of Xiphorians. The next few days were filled with preparation. Aaron and Ilara worked tirelessly, inspecting defenses, studying the Vorax movements, and coordinating training exercises. Citizens volunteered to assist in fortifying the city, while soldiers practiced the new strategies under Aaron's guidance. The palace hummed with activity, a mixture of tension, focus, and cautious optimism. One afternoon, while reviewing fleet formations, Aaron noticed subtle irregularities in Vorak patterns. They are testing us again, he said. The first attack was to gauge our response. The next wave will be stronger. We must be ready. Ilara placed a hand on his shoulder. Then we will face it together. Your knowledge and our soldiers' courage will hold the line. Aaron smiled faintly. It is not just courage. It is intelligence, observation, and adaptation. If we combine these, we can turn the tide, no matter how strong the enemy appears. The following morning, a small group of scouts returned with reports of increased Vorak activity near Zephora Prime's orbit. Aaron and Ilara convened a meeting with the council and military leaders. Aaron spoke calmly and confidently, detailing subtle patterns he had observed, potential weaknesses in the Vorak fleet, and strategies for both defense and counterattack. Some council members still doubted him, but Ilara supported every word. Aaron has guided our forces before, she said firmly. We will trust his judgment. The safety of our people depends on it. As preparations continued, Aaron took a special interest in training elite squads of soldiers. He emphasized flexibility, teaching them to react to unpredictable scenarios rather than rely on rigid formations. He introduced new exercises that tested their agility, thinking, and teamwork under pressure. Each soldier who trained under him began to notice improvements not only in skill, but also in confidence. One of these exercises involved a simulated Vorak attack. The soldiers had to defend the palace while small, fast drones mimicked enemy strikes. Aaron observed quietly, correcting minor mistakes and offering subtle guidance. By the end, the soldiers could anticipate threats, coordinate attacks instinctively, and adjust to new dangers in real time. Ilara watched in awe. Your methods are unlike anything we have ever practiced, she said. You are not just training soldiers. You are inspiring them. Aaron shrugged modestly. Inspiration comes from showing that success is possible, even against stronger opponents. Humans have learned that from survival. I am simply sharing it. The palace also focused on intelligence gathering. Aaron worked with scouts and analysts, teaching them how to detect hidden threats and identify patterns the Vorak might use. Small adjustments in the city's defenses were made, including hidden barriers, alternate escape routes, and decoy targets. Every detail was carefully planned. As the twin suns set one evening, Ilara and Aaron walked through the palace gardens, reflecting on the progress made. Do you think the people understand? Ilara asked. Aaron nodded. They understand more than they realize. Courage comes from preparation, and confidence comes from knowledge. They are beginning to see that humans are capable, not weak. Soon they will face the enemy with belief in themselves and in humanity. The next day brought signs that the Vorak were approaching again. This time the fleet was larger, their movements more calculated and their aggression unmistakable. Zephoria's defenses were ready, but even with preparation the danger was real. Aaron moved swiftly through the command center, issuing precise instructions and coordinating forces. The soldiers followed him instinctively, their training and confidence evident in every movement. Small squads deployed in ways the Vorak did not anticipate, striking vulnerable points and forcing retreating enemies to collide with each other. Ilara observed the battle unfold. She saw how Aaron's human strategies combined with Zyphorian strength created a force far more effective than raw power alone. Soldiers adapted to changing conditions, pilots executed daring maneuvers, and defenses held firm. Aaron personally led a small squad to intercept a Vorak strike team attempting to sabotage the city's energy grids. He moved with unmatched speed, disarming enemies, redirecting energy fields, and coordinating the squad to neutralize threats efficiently. Each action was precise, deliberate, and effective. The elite soldiers who fought alongside him began to realize that Aaron's abilities were extraordinary. Not only did he possess remarkable physical skill, but his mind could anticipate the enemy's movements, respond instantly, and turn potential disasters into victories. The squad began to follow his lead without hesitation, fully trusting his judgment. Meanwhile, Ilara coordinated the city's defenses, issuing commands with authority and confidence. She had learned from Aaron's methods, incorporating adaptability and strategy into her own leadership. The combination of her wisdom and his human ingenuity proved unstoppable. The Vorak fleet, despite their strength and experience, began to falter. Their carefully planned attacks were countered at every turn, their formations disrupted, and their morale weakened by unexpected resistance. Soldiers and citizens alike watched in awe as humans and Zyphorians worked together seamlessly. As the battle reached its climax, Aaron executed a daring maneuver. Using a combination of speed, intelligence, and precision, he infiltrated the Vorak command ship, disabling key systems and forcing a retreat. The remaining enemy forces, confused and disoriented, fled into the darkness of space. Ilara rushed to his side as he returned, covered in minor bruises but smiling. "You have done it again," she said, awe in her voice. "Your strength, your mind, it has saved us once more." Aaron shook his head gently. "No, it was our combined strength. Your people, our strategy and courage, all of it together. Today we proved that humans are not weak, and together, we can face anything." The citizens of Zephora Prime celebrated their victory, but the palace knew that vigilance was still required. Aaron had inspired not only the soldiers but also the citizens. They had seen that humans could be clever, courageous, and strong in ways that aliens had never imagined. The bond between Queen Ilara and her human husband had grown even stronger, a symbol of unity and resilience. That night, as the twin suns set again, casting golden and violet light over the crystal spires, Ilara and Aaron stood together on the palace balcony. "The galaxy will remember this day," Ilara said softly. "You have changed everything, Aaron. Not just the outcome of the battle, but how humans are seen." Aaron looked out at the horizon, thoughtful. "Humans have always had strength, but it is often hidden. Today others have seen a glimpse. Tomorrow we must ensure it is remembered. The Vorak may return, and when they do, we must be ready again." Ilara smiled, squeezing his hand. "Then we will face it together. Always together." The palace rested that night, filled with cautious hope, renewed courage, and the knowledge that humans, underestimated and unseen, had proven their worth. And as the stars shone above Zephora Prime, one truth became clear. Strength is not only in power but in intelligence, adaptability, and the courage to act when it matters most. Aaron's hidden abilities were becoming more apparent, and his methods had inspired an entire civilization. The true strength of humanity was no longer a secret. It was a force that would shape the future of Zephora Prime. And the morning on Zephora Prime dawned with a tense stillness. Though the city had survived the previous Vorak attacks, the threat had not vanished. Reports from distant scouts confirmed it. The Vorak were regrouping, planning a full-scale assault. This time they would bring a fleet far larger than before, determined to conquer the planet. Queen Ilara stood on the palace balcony, her gaze fixed on the horizon. Beside her, Aaron remained calm, his presence a steadying force amid the rising tension. He had prepared the Zephorian forces, trained their soldiers, and refined strategies that combined intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Yet even with all their preparation, he knew the coming battle would test every skill they possessed. "They will come stronger than ever," Ilara said softly. "Are we ready?" Aaron's gaze met hers, unwavering. "We are ready. Not because of numbers, but because we fight together. Your people have learned to think differently, to trust their instincts and to act decisively. Today we show the Vorak what happens when underestimating humans is a mistake. The first signs of the Vorak fleet appeared as black silhouettes against the twin suns. Their ships were vast, with sharp edges and ominous energy fields. Citizens of Zyphora Prime looked to the skies in fear, but Aaron's presence instilled a renewed courage. Soldiers moved swiftly, executing maneuvers he had taught them, and defensive systems activated with precision. Aaron led from the front, coordinating the fleet while simultaneously guiding elite squads on the ground. He moved with unmatched speed, dodging enemy strikes and countering attacks with careful timing. His human ingenuity shone through in every maneuver, turning potential chaos into orchestrated precision. The Vorak fleet struck with a ferocity unmatched by their previous attacks. Explosions lit the skies, energy blasts tore through city defenses, and smaller squads attempted sabotage. Yet every move the Vorak made was anticipated and countered by Aaron's strategies. He used the terrain, environmental factors, and misdirection to confuse the enemy. What seemed like small, ordinary humans became a force capable of holding the line. Ilara observed the battle with awe. She had always known Aaron was extraordinary, but now his abilities were fully revealed. He was faster, stronger, and smarter than any warrior she had seen. His mind could anticipate enemy moves, and his hands executed flawless maneuvers that inspired everyone around him. Zyphorian soldiers, once doubtful of humans, now looked to him for guidance, following his lead without hesitation. The Vorak commander, a massive alien known for ruthlessness, had brought his flagship to the front, intending to crush the palace defenses directly. Aaron assessed the situation quickly, identifying vulnerabilities in the enemy ship that no Zyphorian had noticed. With precise coordination, he sent a small strike team to disable key systems, while he led another team to intercept incoming Vorak fighters. The battle intensified as Aaron faced the Vorak commander directly. The flagship unleashed devastating energy blasts, attempting to destroy everything in its path. Aaron used a combination of agility, strategy, and quick thinking to evade attacks, striking at critical points with unerring accuracy. The Vorak commander, confident in his strength, was taken aback by Aaron's speed and intellect. Meanwhile, Ilara rallied her soldiers with renewed authority. She had learned from Aaron's methods, blending Zyphorian strength with human-inspired adaptability. The combination proved unbeatable. Soldiers executed daring flanking maneuvers, defensive squads used unpredictable tactics, and fleet pilots carried out precision strikes that overwhelmed the Vorak formations. Aaron moved through the battlefield like a shadow, swift and precise. He disabled enemy weapons, redirected energy flows, and coordinated attacks so that each action complemented the others. Small squads of Zyphorian soldiers, guided by his strategies, struck with confidence and creativity, turning the tide of the battle. As the climax approached, Aaron executed a daring plan. Using his knowledge of the Vorak fleet's formations, he led a team in a surprise attack on the flagship's core systems. Timing was critical. One mistake could have destroyed them all. Yet with calm precision, Aaron and his team infiltrated the vessel, sabotaged key engines, and disrupted the Vorak command chain. The enemy fleet, thrown into disarray, began to retreat. The citizens of Zyphora Prime cheered, their voices rising in unison. They had witnessed something extraordinary. A human, once thought weak and ordinary, had turned the tide of a galactic battle. Soldiers who had doubted themselves now stood proud, inspired by Aaron's courage and leadership. Ilara rushed to Aaron's side as the battle ended. He was slightly bruised but unbowed, his calm demeanor unchanged. "You did it," she said, her voice filled with awe. "You saved this planet." Aaron shook his head, modest yet firm. "We did it together. Your people fought bravely and your leadership guided them. I only showed a new way to fight, a way to see opportunity where others see danger." Ilara smiled, squeezing his hand. "You have proven more than strength or skill. You have shown that humans, even the simplest looking among us, can rise to greatness. Today, you are not just my husband. You are a hero for all Zyphora Prime." News of the victory spread quickly. Across the planet, humans and Zyphorians alike celebrated the triumph. The Vorak, once feared as unstoppable, had been defeated not by sheer power alone but by intelligence, strategy, and courage, qualities Aaron had exemplified. Humans, once underestimated, were now recognized as capable, clever, and courageous. The palace held a ceremony to honor the defenders. Aaron was acknowledged not for pride or glory, but for his guidance, bravery, and wisdom. He had inspired not just soldiers, but an entire civilization. Xiphorians began to rethink long-held assumptions about humans, understanding that strength was measured in more than physical prowess. It was in courage, adaptability, and intelligence. Ilara and Aaron stood together during the ceremony, their hands intertwined. "This is a new beginning," Ilara said softly. "A new era for Xiphora Prime and for humanity's place in the galaxy?" Aaron nodded. "Yes, but we must remain vigilant. There will always be challenges, threats, and those who underestimate us. What matters is how we respond, with courage, strategy, and unity." In the days that followed, the palace focused on rebuilding and strengthening alliances. Aaron continued to train soldiers, refine strategies, and teach the Xiphorians the lessons he had demonstrated in battle. The people's confidence grew, their respect for humans deepened, and the bond between species strengthened. Ilara reflected on the journey they had shared. From the quiet days after their marriage, through the first Vorak attacks, to the decisive battle that had cemented their place in history, she realized how fortunate she was. Aaron had shown that humility, intelligence, and courage could match and even surpass the greatest physical strength. The planet itself seemed to celebrate the victory. Crystal spires glimmered under the twin suns, forests glowed with renewed energy, and the citizens moved through the streets with pride. The story of Aaron, the human who had turned the tide of war, became legend. One evening, as the sun set in shades of gold and violet, Aaron and Ilara stood on the palace balcony, looking out over their city. "Do you think the galaxy understands now?" Ilara asked. Aaron smiled. "They will. Humans have always had potential, but it often goes unseen. Today we have shown what is possible when courage, intelligence, and determination are combined. The galaxy will remember." Ilara rested her head on his shoulder. "I am proud of you, Aaron. Not just for what you have done, but for who you are." Aaron looked out at the horizon, thoughtful but calm. "And I am proud to stand by your side. Together we have changed Xiphora Prime. Together we will face whatever comes next." In that moment, the palace stood as a symbol of unity, courage, and hope. Humans had earned respect across the galaxy, not through power alone, but through intelligence, adaptability, and the indomitable spirit of their kind. The story of Aaron and Queen Ilara would be told for generations, a tale of trust, courage, and the hidden strength that lies in the most unexpected places. The Vorak had been defeated, and a new era had begun, not only for Xiphora Prime, but for all who believed in the potential of humans. And as night fell over the Crystal City, the twin suns replaced by the soft glow of stars, Aaron and Ilara stood together, knowing that their journey was only beginning. The galaxy was vast, challenges would arise, but humans and their allies had proven that no obstacle was insurmountable when courage, wisdom, and unity led the way. The legend of a human who revealed his true strength would echo across the stars, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and that even the most ordinary-looking among us can achieve greatness when the heart and mind are united. Xiphora Prime was safe, its people inspired, and a new era had dawned, an era in which humans were no longer underestimated, and the courage of one individual could change the fate of an entire world.